2024, and we're going to talk about email Jedi tricks. So these are the 10 tricks that I want to show you. Some of these are going to be things that we will do on our iPads or on our laptops, and that's why I want you to have those things open right now. And hopefully by the end of this, you're going to at least have a couple new skills that you'll be able to use and apply, not just this year, but maybe for the rest of your life. Because this may be sad news, but I don't think email's going away. Email is one of those things that anyone who's on the internet is basically using, and there's more and more spam, and there's more and more volume of email, and so I think all of these things are helpful. What I'd like for you to do first is open your email box, and I want you to, and you can do this, if you have your iPad open, I know you'll be able to do this on the laptop. We'll have to see if we can do this on the iPad as well. You can open this to Gmail. What is the total number of emails that I have in my inbox right now? Yeah, 67, which is not too bad. I will tell you that has at times been way over 1,000. I struggle with this, and part of the reason it's good for me to revisit this and do this is because it helps me get better. So we will do some things on the iPad as well, but right now, on the laptop, if you'll take a look at that number, and just by a show of hands, for how many people is that number over 100? Is anybody over 100? Okay. Okay. Hold on. Okay. For anybody, is it over 500? For anybody, is it over 1,000? Okay. All right. Okay. So I'm not here to shame you. I am not here to judge you. I'm here to try to teach you. Okay. And one of the things we're going to try to do is keep this less than, I would say less than 50. We're going to try to go for something called inbox zero. So just notice what that is. And then hopefully that's going to be a lower number. If you have over 1,000, multiple hundreds, you're going to need to do some of these techniques later because we're not going to have enough time to do them. But that kind of establishes a starting point of where we are. Okay, so let's talk about inbox zero. Has anybody ever heard of this before? This idea? Okay, this fellow is named Merlin Mann. I was just watching this again. He talked at a talk at Google in October of 2007. And that probably seems like a long, long time ago, and it kind of was. But he was one who really espoused the idea that every day, you get your inbox to zero. And so I gave you a link where it says 1 hour to the actual video. I have watched this multiple times. It's been a while. And so even today, I picked up a few new things that I don't know that I had seen before or that I had heard before. It's kind of weird how that works, that even when you've read something, you've heard something, you hear it again, you pick up new things. I also gave you a link to a website that has a description of how inbox zero works. And basically, you try to get your inbox to how many messages? Zero every single day, okay? And you do that by deleting things. What does it mean to delegate something?
Like you could maybe give it like a tag or something.
Well, actually, it's giving it to somebody else to do. So being a middle school student right now, you probably don't have a live human assistant that works for you constantly. You'll be having AI assistants probably in your life. So that one may not be as relevant, unless it's like somebody in your group. If it's something you have to do, and hey, Calvin's in my group, and I'm going to ask him to do it. But you can delete it, you can respond it. Deferring means you put it off, and so you schedule it to do it later, or you actually do it. And his point that he says early in the presentation, time and attention are finite. I truly believe you and I are so challenged today because there is so much information. Like just how much time do most people spend on social media? Like hours, like crazy amounts, right? And so people are sleeping less. They still have a lot of work to do. We have a school that has a lot of homework. So it is really important to try to be efficient. Calvin, question? Or sorry, Ryder.
So I've heard like the service called like Unroll.me, where like you put in like your email and it allows you to like hold, unsubscribe.
Okay, yes, we're going to be talking. I would like to know about some of those kinds of services because I am going to talk about that. Okay, a book. This is kind of an adult book, but the ideas are so good, and like I said, you will almost without a doubt be dealing with email for the rest of your life. I think I probably will too, unless I move to a small Pacific island that has no internet and live off of coconuts and bananas, and I don't think I'm going to do that. So this is a book by a man named David Allen. He's made a career out of this whole thing. His website's gettingthingsdone.com. And what he says is that when you sit down and you're going to do your email, you want to get to inbox 0, but you want to process it first. You want to get it out of your inbox and either assign it to yourself to do later, just do it, deal with it, and get it done. Get rid of it, basically. Because too many people, and I've done this too, sort of live in the inbox, and it's overwhelming, and there's just so many messages, and that's not, according to this, that is not a great place for our minds to live, okay? All right, so let's talk about unsubscribing and blocking. Do you know that you could block every message Dr. Fryer ever sends you from now on?
Yeah.
You do have the power to do that. Now, I'm not going to encourage you to do that, but what I am going to encourage you to do is to be able to unsubscribe and block. So what I would like for you to try and do, you may not be able to do this, but try and find something that you want to unsubscribe from and not get any more in your laptop. And so Yep. Okay, here's an example. Claude. Claude is one of the big AI platforms, along with what? What else do we have? ChatGPT, Gemini from Google, Bard, which is now Gemini, yeah. And then there's also, what is Microsoft's called? Copilot. Yeah, Copilot. I mean, there's others too. There's a lot, that's the one that goes with Bing is Copilot. It's hard to keep track of. Anyway, Anthropic. There were Google people that went and formed this company, and I'm interested in it. I want to know more about it. Do I want to get emails whenever they want to send them to me? No, not really. So there are different ways to unsubscribe. The way that I'm going to do it, that Gmail has made pretty easy, is right at the top, there is an unsubscribe button. And that's the one I'm going to click. But I also want to point out to you that at the bottom of this email, there is supposed to be, if you're subscribed, there is supposed to be a way that you can unsubscribe. Yeah, they may have put that up at the top.
No, this is a legal notice, so you're only receiving it if you opted out of.
Oh, you're right. Interesting. Wow. Okay. Good attention to detail. Huh. Interesting. Well, when I click this unsubscribe up here, it is going to say, do you want to stop getting messages from Anthropic support? And that says that Gmail will unsubscribe by. Yeah. Yes, Duolingo. So a lot of times there's going to be other ways that you can unsubscribe at the bottom. Legally, if you're on a mailing list in the United States, there's something called the Canned Spam Act, and it requires companies, not all email spammers are following the law, but they're supposed to always put an opt-out link at the bottom. This says you've unsubscribed. Do I want to move it to spam? No, I'm not going to call it spam. I'm just going to say that I unsubscribed, okay? Let me see if I can find another one. Here's one called the AI Educator. Dan from the AI Educator has emailed me 5 questions every parent should ask. Well, if I go to the bottom here, look at this. What does it say at the bottom? Unsubscribe. Okay, so those are 2 ways that if the email is legitimate, and uBlock Origin is catching this, that this is sometimes used for advertising. It says, do you want to proceed? So I say yes. Oh, shoot, I didn't say yes. I said no. All right, let me try again. Unsubscribe. Okay, are you sure I want to unsubscribe? Why, yes, I am. And then, do I need to answer this? I don't really need to. Okay. Data. They want, but sometimes you're going to have to click several things. But now, hopefully, I'm not going to receive this email anymore, and I'm going to delete it. Okay? Now, if there is something you get that is spam, I have a folder over here on the side, and it says spam. Okay? Interesting. Here's Nationwide Pet. You can mark things as spam or mark that things are not spam. And I don't. Do you want to mark something as spam if it's really not? No. Not really.
Unless you don't want to get it.
Yeah, but when you mark it as spam, Other people, like it's going to try to train the system and go, oh, it thinks it's spam. And if Olivia thinks it's spam, and Marissa thinks it's spam, and Neha thinks it's spam, then it's probably going to, categorize it that way. You have 3 dots over here, and I'll zoom in on this so you can see. To each email message, okay, you have the 3 dots. And notice that you have choices here that include reporting spam, and you can also delete it. The reason I would encourage you to unsubscribe or block is that you will not hopefully have to deal with that one again if you don't want to. Otherwise, if you just delete it, like they're just going to keep on sending you stuff, you've got to keep on deleting it. Who knows what phishing is? Hint, there's a little hook button.
Where you send a malware link.
Yep.
And
Why is there a hook here?
Because you're kind of
What are they trying to do?
hook them into clicking a link, and then
But it's like you pretend to be someone else, like if you're fishing.
Sometimes. Catfishing is when somebody would like take pictures of somebody and pretend to be that person.
But like
Fishing usually is like when you go fish, you're casting your rod, you're taking your rod and reel, you cast your hook out there, you're trying to hook a fish. They are trying to hook you in some way, oftentimes to steal your information to get you to click something. So if, and our daughter just received one of these messages that was a test at the Air Force Academy this week, because it wasn't real, and they were waiting to see, will you click on it? And we're not doing that to my knowledge at our school, but some organizations do. Those are all choices too for things that you can do, okay? But basically that is unsubscribing, blocking, and that is real important. Any questions or comments anybody wants to make about blocking, unsubscribing? Okay, deleting, archiving. One of the things that's pretty amazing about Gmail, and we all take it for granted now, do you have to delete all your emails?
no.
No, you actually don't. When you get an email from somebody, okay, here's a little thing from the Trinity Forum. When you get an email, you are able to click the trash can and delete the message, but there's another choice. Like this message right now, the reason it's showing up in my inbox is because it has a label that's called what? Inbox. And every new message automatically does. For you to not see it in your inbox, you can simply remove that label, click it away. It will still be in Gmail, okay? But it's in what's called an archived mode. And so there is a button that says archive. If you move your mouse actually over these at the top, you'll notice there is archive, report spam, trash, mark it as unread, which means it'll still be in the inbox, snooze it. What would that be?
If you don't get any notifications on it.
Means like, what do you do when you push the snooze? Do y'all have alarm clocks? You probably, maybe you don't.
Yeah, I do.
For people who do have alarm clocks, what happens when you hit snooze?
It pings again.
It pings again. It comes back later. It stops right then. Marissa?
What about the mark as all red? Not unread, but all red.
Where do you see that one?
Dot dot.
The dots here.
Doesn't that just like
No,
make
I don't have that. I have mark as all red. Like all of it is always red. Let me click it.
Are you clicking on more than one message?
Oh my gosh, I have 8,000 emails.
I have the 3 dots, and then it says no unread conversations when I click it.
Okay.
I don't have it.
Oh, I have it too. Mark is all red.
So basically,
But I don't have it either.
It's not even letting me delete all of these at once.
mark as all
Oh, okay. So so this is the 3 dots on a particular message. If I get out of, if I get out of the message and click the 3 dots, so mark all as red. See how some are bolded and some are not?
Yeah, those are the
That would mean that they would all stop being bold.
We're only using 30.
All the ones that I selected. So if without opening it, this is why the title is so important of the email, right? Because people always read the email. Nope. Sometimes they just look at the title. Oh shoot! I need to show all that. Okay. So if I wanted to select those 3 dots and then say mark as red, is that what you're asking about? The mark as red.
Yeah,
Yeah. It just changes it from bold to not bold. Okay. Which I pretty much never use, but you can anyway. There's all these things. There's probably 1,000 things we can do with email. Okay, so all of that is a long way to say, if you have a message and you want to keep it, okay, here's the Trinity Forum, and if I wanted to keep this, instead of deleting it, I could either remove the inbox label, or I could click up here where it says archive. It's still going to be saved. So if I click archive, it's no longer here. But if I search for it, I put in Trinity, okay? Here's all the messages that I've received that have that word Trinity, including these from the Trinity forum, okay? So it's just the difference between archiving and deleting. If you don't need to have a message again, if you don't need to keep it, what do you think you should do? Delete it or archive it? Archive is, if there's a possibility you may want it, just archive it, because there's no cost to that, right? We have unlimited space. But I would recommend, if you really don't think you'll ever need that again, just delete it, and then it doesn't take up any space, okay? Either way, it takes it out of your inbox. Okay, who does this now? Who does keyboard shortcuts? Anybody?
I actually use it for copying, pasting, selecting.
Okay, all right. Here is probably the top Jedi trick I'm going to teach you today. Okay, I'm going to show you how to do this. I'm going to type the question mark. Oh my gosh, what's all this? All of these are keyboard shortcuts. And before I show you this, let me show you a way that I use these. When I'm processing my email and I have a lot of things that I want to select, I will navigate. If you look up at my screen, I'm going up and down using J and K, okay? And I'm going to select messages that I know I don't need to read. And I'm going to use a keyboard shortcut, Shift-Pound, and I just process through all those messages. Let me show you how to turn this on. If you will please right now on your laptop, go up to the corner, upper right corner where the gear icon is. There's a question mark that says support. There's the waffle we use to go to our Google Apps. This is the settings. I want you to please click on the gear icon to go to settings. And then I want you to see all settings, okay? Now, there are a ton of settings, okay? There's a lot. But the one I want you to go down to is called keyboard shortcuts, okay? Keyboard shortcuts by default are turned off. I recommend turning them on. Now, if you don't want to use this later, it's totally fine, but I'd love for you to give this a try. Turn on keyboard shortcuts, and then I think at the bottom you'll have to click Save Changes, okay? So many different things that you can turn on. But now, if you will press the question mark, you'll have to hold down the Shift key on your keyboard and press the slash that has a question mark. So if you do Shift, and you can't be in a box, so you got to be outside of the search box. Look at this. It gives you all the keyboard shortcuts that are here in Gmail, and you can do any of these. Now, I know some people who are way more of a keyboard shortcut Jedi than I am, and it takes some practice to be able to, get used to using some of these. How do I get rid of this, by the way, if I don't want this? You can click close in the corner, or just press escape, okay? Kind of like Minecraft. You can just press escape to get rid of it. But the keyboard shortcuts that I will use in my inbox, and this really does help me process faster, I use the ones that are for navigating. And so it says navigating. I use, let's see, where is it? J and K. Navigating messages. So you can see that there's command messages. Focus on the last message. So the two that I use are J and K to go back up. Okay? So it's Shift J and it's Shift K. I go up and down, and then I use X to select. Okay. So obviously it takes some time to do that. You can't do that really quick. But here's the benefit to using keyboard shortcuts and being able to bulk process. So I'm going to open up my Gmail. I'm going to bulk process my 57 messages that I have here. Instead of just selecting one message, what's going to happen if I select this box right here? It's going to select every visible message. Now, I'm seeing 50 of 57 messages. One of the techniques that I use, and for those of you that have hundreds and thousands of messages, you can choose to see your oldest messages. What's likely about your oldest messages? They're useless. You don't need them. They're so old. So I will sort this to show my oldest messages. Now, I'm also seeing 50 messages at a time. Are you all seeing that many? Yeah. Okay, you can change that if you want to see less or to see more. And if you look up here real quick as I do this, I'm going to select all these messages. And then as I scan them down, I do want to read this. This is the update for middle school, and I haven't read that. I didn't read that one. I missed some messages. This is a high school thing I don't have to worry about. So I am selecting all those, and when I click the trash can, what's going to happen to all those messages? Okay, they're going to be gone. Now, this is actually an important thing. They're not gone forever. They are in my trash. When does the trash automatically empty?
30 days.
30 days. Now, if I click empty the trash now, what happens? They're all gone. But that's something that Gmail
I have a question.
just does naturally every 30 days. Yes.
So does your trash, does that count towards like the amount of storage you have, or once it's in trash?
I don't think so, but I'm not positive. As a education Google account users, I don't think we have a limit of space.
Yeah, I know we have like
But as a personal account, you would. I don't.
I think it's unlimited, but like it says at the bottom you have a space of like a limit of like 1,000 gigabytes.
Yeah. What? Do we have a performance? Sing at the final staff meeting. Okay.
What? A terabyte's like around.
All right. So, last example of this. So I'm going to go ahead and select all 50 of 51 messages here. But what's important is to make sure that I don't get rid of messages that I really need to read. Okay?
Yeah, see, it says.
So this is really more. Yeah, be careful. And it'll also say things like, do you want to select all? You need to be careful with bulk processing because you can accidentally just delete a ton of messages and miss out on things. So this points to why titles are important. But here I had 57 messages. Okay, and I feel pretty confident now. Those are the only ones that I need. So when I hit trash, what's going to happen?
All the other ones get deleted.
Look at that. I'm down to how many messages? Oh, 12. It just feels good. It feels good in my heart. Okay, but seriously, folks, last week I did have over 1,000 in this one. I'm sad to admit it. But that's why this is a struggle. Have you ever heard somebody talk about dieting as a yo-yo? What does a yo-yo do? What does a yo-yo do? It goes back and forth. Dr. Fryer lost 50 pounds about, a year ago, and I've gained some weight back. I'm going to lose some more. This happens with my email. Sometimes I'll get into this spot where I'm like, oh, look at this. I have 12 messages. And then if I don't have that habit, I end up, getting too many messages. So I will be happy to work with you. If some of you want to work on this and you even want to come in, we can even do this later next year. But this is a big deal. I think trying to not be overwhelmed with email is really, really important. And so I'm showing you this. We're practicing some of it. But if you want more help with this, follow up with me. Okay, even if we're not in class, I can, I have duty in the makerspace. We can set up some time. This is an important thing to help with. Okay. Last things. Oh man, it says I have 9 seconds left. I do 3 things. Okay, I'm not going to make it to 20 minutes. All right, filters. Who has a filter on their email? Have you ever heard of this before? Okay, so what I want you to do is find a message from let's say from a particular person, okay? Ms. May sends us stuff about CCT, okay? So when you are on a message and you can choose the 3 dots here, there is a choice that says filter messages like these. When we were using Google Classroom, this is what I teach everybody with Google Classroom. Because does Google Classroom send you a lot of messages? Yeah. Does Canvas too, actually? Yeah. Okay. So you may end up wanting to do this for Canvas. It's sometimes good to get those notifications, but if they're overwhelming, what a filter does is it processes it before it gets to your inbox. So in this example, I'm going to take messages from Ms. May, and I'm going to put them in a label that's called Messages from Mrs. May. Okay? So I have the message that I want. I click Filter Messages like these, and now this is basically coding. Okay? I am going to code it to say, when I get this kind of a message, do this with it, okay? In this case, I'm going to say when I get a message from her. I could also be more specific. Like sometimes she emails us about CCT time. So I could say, whenever Ms. May sends me a message about CCT, then I want you to do this. But there's all kinds of ways that you can set this up. This literally is coding, okay? You click Create Filter and look at all the things that you can do. I could say, when I get a message from Ms. May about CCT, I just want you to delete it. Now, would that be very wise for me? No, it wouldn't, okay? How about forwarding all of it to Calvin?
Yes, definitely.
Okay, I actually can't do that unless I would add his address as a trusted address, and there's going to be a verifying way. But sometimes I've done that. Like you can actually get a text on your cell phone when you get an email. So I've done that to make sure I don't miss certain messages. If it's really important, I could say never send it to spam. I could say star it. I could also say put a label on it. So I'm going to say put a label, and I can call this label Mrs. May emails, okay? And so now that message is going to go in that folder, and I could also have it skip the inbox, okay? So basically this is coding. When you create the filter the first time, it usually will say, do you want to apply that to existing messages, okay? But now whenever I get a message from Mrs. May, unless I change that filter, it's not going to show up here. It's going to automatically process and go over into that label.
I have a question.
Yes.
So, like, this is like a little bit off topic, but like, I have a lot of issues with getting like, a bunch of spam calls and a bunch of spam texts, like on my number.
Yes.
Is there like a way to like filter that out?
Talking about on your phone?
Yeah.
So every time you get one of those, I would tap the report as spam, delete and report as spam. That's about all we can do. There are some different apps. Do you have an Android or iPhone?
I have an iPhone.
Yeah, I would tap that. And I'm getting more of those too. Some of that has to do with hacks.
Yeah, no,
and
my
it's
number,
just,
like I always get texted like I know our number.
yeah, don't respond to them. And when you tap on it, below it says delete and report as
Yeah,
spam.
I get a bunch of texts that like I know aren't intended for me.
Correct. Yeah, I would just rather than just delete it from your phone, I would tap delete and report as spam. Calvin,
On my watch, I get
hang on.
these
Let's get Calvin and then I'll get you first. Ugh, am I taking too much time? Yeah, we have like 10 minutes, don't we? 20 minutes, 15 minutes. Okay, you're right. Let me finish these last ones up and then I'll give you the remaining time. Why are these labels at the top?
because they're important.
What's at the start of them? A star, an asterisk. Now that guy Merlin Mann, if you watch that video, he says what I'm doing here is ridiculous. You shouldn't have all of these labels and categories. You should just have one called archive. But if you want to have a lot, that's a trick. The numbers also come up first as well, okay? So labels are a thing. You can label messages. I just put that up as a topic, but anyway, you can create labels. Labels allow you to have things organized. Some people say, forget that. Don't label a bunch of stuff, just search for it. And that's not a bad strategy either. Schedule send, have you done this before? Yeah. Okay, why is it good to not email your teacher at like 9 o'clock at night?
Because they're sleeping.
They're sleeping, they may be sleeping. Okay, this used to not be a feature in Gmail. What does the little arrow beside send do now? Okay, schedule send. So if I wanted to send an email to Calvin, I can go ahead and schedule send, and it can be tomorrow morning, this afternoon, Monday morning. I can also pick the time. And so if I was working late and I wanted to send it to him, I could say, oh, I want to just send that to him at 7 in the morning or whatever. And you schedule send, and then that message is going to be sent there. You can view it and you can delete it. If you don't want to do that, I'll cancel that because I really don't want to do that. But that's a good technique, and it's a good way to sort of respect boundaries and stuff like that for when you want to contact people. Okay? All right, and the very last thing is email to task. Are you all using your tasks in Gmail at all? What is a task? Okay, so over here on the side, have you wondered what these little buttons are on the right? Anybody? Okay, the third one is Google Tasks, all right? And I've used different techniques to try to keep track of things. But basically, your brain can only hold so many things in short-term memory, and then it gets overloaded. So a technique with getting things done is have a trusted system that you can put these ideas into. Then your brain doesn't have to like juggle them and keep them. You can be like, oh, that's your brain says I can relax with that because Dr. Fryer put that down on a list. So if you have something you need to do, let's say I need to email Landon. I actually already graded his assignment, but by the way, is this a good idea right after you turn an assignment in to email your teacher to say, hey, when are you going to grade that?
No.
Probably not. Okay.
I also keep
But
to sign your.
if I don't want to just reply to that or deal with that, if this is the last thing I'm going to show you, look at this. What do you think this little circle with a check mark and a plus means? Add it to tasks. So you can just put in tasks here on the side, but if you have an email that has something you need to do, you can click on it, boom, it makes it a task. You can give yourself a date and a time, so I can say, oh, I'm going to do that today at 11 o'clock and set the date. Okay, so then it's going to remind me. You can put in more details. You can say what it is. I want to...
They should put like AI in Gmail to like automatically reply.
Well, funny you should say that, because yesterday at Google I/O, which is their big conference, they did announce all kinds of integrations of Gemini to include, now this will be on consumer level, not the school level, but yeah, they're going to integrate it. Okay, so that alone, using tasks, keeping track of stuff you got to do, that can be helpful. All right, that was number 10. If that was not enough and you're like, Dr. Fryer, I really want just more and more Gmail tricks. 4 years ago, is that right? Yes. I recorded 2 different Gmail basics sessions. I used to have these as assignments that I made everybody do. And there was this thing called Ed Puzzle that asked you quiz questions based on the video. We're not doing that. But those are 2, like this one has 36,000 views. This one has almost 9,000 views. Those are fairly popular on YouTube. And there's some really good tips that you can check out. So those links are there as well. Ta-da! So ends